Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Built to Scale. Today's headlines: Meta buys everyone. XAI raises 10 billion. Neuralink has a device killer coming. AGI is somehow old news. Xiaomi starting with the smart glasses war. Tesla's robo-taxi launch. The Robots Soccer League. Maddie's going to tell us about that. Microsoft and Amazon Flex. They've got some big news. And Matt's humanoid robot bet is looking very strong. Maddie, welcome. Good to see you.
Always good to see you, Scotty. How are you?
Mate, I'm okay. I'm summoning Carl Stefanovic today. Carl's been known to be on breakfast radio for a long time, and we do this. We get together on this pod at like 6 a.m, and I'm officially burning the candle at both ends. Let's just say that the candle is burnt.
Burnt last night, was it?
Look, it's burnt overall. So we got end of financial year. So this is what, July the 2nd or something. End of financial year, all the teams reviews. Construction doesn't really care about the additional workload of that. Construction will still get you. So this morning when the alarm went off, I thought of Carl, and I thought I've seen him get onto the morning breakfast shows in different conditions before. And he's just made it work. So that's me this morning.
I think you're going to do the same. And if I notice you going off track, I'll be there to course correct.
But some of his best moments have been when he goes off track. So who knows? We might get some virality out of it.
You're wearing your Ugg boots on your hands. That's progressive.
Yeah, it's my muff. There we go.
Natalia's brought back the muff. It's very practical, the muff. And Carl's
I'll just let the dogs out. I won't put any leashes on.
Mate, how are you? What's going on?
I'm good. I would say the candle has not been fully burnt, but I've definitely overcommitted recently. So I essentially have 2 weeks to pack up my life and get over to Austin, as we've discussed. And, tomorrow I've got to do a speech in front of 600 people. A lot of product managers from big companies will be there. I've written the speech, but I have not practiced it once. So that's starting to weigh on me a little bit. Full day of meetings today, and so it might be a late night tonight practicing that. So a little bit of overcommitment, but we're good. We're here. We said we weren't going to miss a week on the Built to Scale podcast, and apart from a tooth incident in China, we have committed to that.
I agree with you. There's a discipline here. It's just been just making it work. So hopefully our listeners can find something from just rocking up every day. I'd be keen to deep dive on your presentation, but maybe we'll save it for after it's done, because I wouldn't want to preempt anything to your 600 listeners tomorrow. But
by the time this podcast comes out, it will be done, and so maybe we can slip in an edit if it's a complete disaster. We can that with the audience then, but we can talk about it next week.
Well, mate, I think it's been a big week for geeks, and you're the official geek of the pod, and so congratulations.
Thank you.
And there's some amazing memes going around with Zuck just buying all the talent in the AI space, and there's all these apps, and we're very sort of pro-Asian here. We're a big fan of China, and it seems that they're winning as well. So Zuck's spending billions, and there's basically AI talent. I don't know, are they software engineers, or is there something special about these guys? But they're getting paid $100 million to leave OpenAI and just go join the Zuck on his ASI race.
Yeah, it's hard to know whether these people actually have a super level of talent, or if they're just in the right spot at the right time and they've got the right credentials now. Who knows? But the memes are great. I mean, what was your favorite one that you've seen, and maybe explain it to the audience, and we can splice it in as well.
I've got 3. First one was an AI generated video of the head of the ASI team with Zuck as a basketball player, and getting interviewed saying, how'd you go this week? And he's like, look, I really wanted to knuckle down and be loyal, but when Zuck offered me 9 figures, I knew it was time for me and the team to go.
So how do you feel about leaving OpenAI to join Meta? you know, we try to do our best wherever we are, but the big man came out hot with 9 figures, and I just couldn't say no.
Then there's the meme of some people might have seen it, the lady in the kitchen in obviously a really nice house. And it says, "Mum, how did we get so rich?" And she said, "Your dad kept getting poached back and forth by the top AI labs, and he actually never did any work." And the third one was another basketball card of a trade like the NBA. And it said, "I used to pray for the day nerds would be traded like athletes. That day is finally here, and it's effing glorious."
So good. It's true though. It's like it's all the big news, and I think we sort of started to see a bit of this theme with esports, and where I think the total market cap of esports, so people playing like Dota and Call of Duty, is now bigger than some of the biggest sports. I think it's like bigger than the NBA or something. And it's funny to like kind of see this happening. I would say one step further. It's just not even like these people don't even have any sporting talent. It's just they've done some AI research. It's so funny.
Yeah, the next Cristiano Ronaldo, LeBron James, is currently sitting at Stanford in some software engineering course. our next heroes, mate. The other one this week I thought was really good was that Trump ended the war by saying it was all going real bad, and we'll play the clip.
They don't know what the they're doing.
They've been fighting for so long, they don't know what the they're doing, and then it stopped. Just like Dad swore. It's like at home when your dad, like that one time your dad like uses the F word, and you're like, oh, that's it.
It's real now. Yeah, the nukes are coming.
And then it just ended. It was like, oh, everyone's called off the planes. So I thought he's brought it back. He's made it okay again to maybe say in the workplace, say it on a podcast. We'll still beep it out. But I thought that was good. That was good by him.
So you're saying all of the construction folk that you work with, their behaviour is going to change, and they will now feel comfortable saying.
Well, I think that construction has led the way in this space. It's one of the ways that we're very front. We're at the head of the industry and saying
it's now progressive. It's now become a progressive thing.
And lastly, on some of the funnies that have happened this week was your man Dyson. He's gotten into strawberries, so he's literally taken himself out to pasture. He's gone and got into strawberries. The world's best ever vacuum designer. It makes beautiful products. What's he doing?
I found it funny that he was like almost justifying it, drawing parallels between like, growing strawberries is like engineering. And so I guess there's elements to it, but it does seem like this is a bit of a late life crisis for Mr. James Dyson. The vacuums are still strong.
It's great because he's just done that big product launch. And I feel like it's sort of like, when the boss is getting a bit old and everyone's wondering, what's next. And he's like, I think I'm going to make strawberries. And you're like, go on. Absolutely. You're like, let's do Dyson strawberries. And there's no one around him to say, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Why don't you just retire and go make strawberries? Why does Dyson have to do your strawberries for you?
It's so true. Yeah. It's like that, old founder of a business that's now third generation, and the poor grandkid is trying to get grandpa into his wheelchair and not make crazy decisions and crash the business. I think there's a little bit of that in what's that show? It's not Billions. It's the other one about like the Packer family.
Oh yeah. The I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's like sort of based on the Murdochs a bit. Yeah. They're pushing the old man. They're pushing the old man out.
They're pushing him out. Yeah, it's very similar to that.
I've just never seen it actually become a product before. Pushing the old man out into strawberries is literally taking him out to pasture. But mate, obviously, I feel like the biggest news of the week is Alexander Wang. So we spoke last week about him and his team getting bought out for 12 billion US and joining the Zuck. And it sort of starts a theme this week, so we can continue on from last week, is this talent war, buying instead of hiring, and also super intelligence. So we've been talking about, and everyone's been talking about AGI is coming. Meta seem to have been behind on that, so they just decided superintelligence is now their new goal, and they've gone and got Alexander Wang and his team, and they're talking superintelligence straight away. So first of all, what do you know about the definitions? What do you think about this acquisition and the team, and what do you think about Zuck's approach in general?
Yeah. So when we talk about AGI or ASI, artificial general intelligence, artificial superintelligence, we're talking about the fact that, are we at AGI yet? Is there an AI out there that just has general intelligence that isn't specialized into a certain field? And it's pretty clear that we're basically there now. Like, I don't think anyone's really debating that. You can go and get any answer you need in any format from an LLM, and they're connected to the tool. So that's, I think people are basically saying that's kind of AGI, and the moment has almost passed. Sam Altman talks about the fact that he predicted that we would get to AGI and it would just be another day of news and then we would move on. And I think that this kind of happened. So everyone's talking about artificial superintelligence now. It's essentially saying a form of intelligence that is not just general, but is far greater than the intelligence that we have as a human species. So super scary, more scary than AGI. And with the talent wars and Zuck, it's funny that Zuck hasn't done a lot of novel things himself. He's done a lot of copying, and he's very good at doing that. He's very good at buying. He's good at killing things, and he's good at integrating new tools into his network. And in the most recent talent wars, we said that the purchase of Scale AI, run by Alexander Wang for however many billions it was a lot of just buying talent. It's obviously a great business, but a lot of it was buying talent. And now he's announced to be the chief AI officer of Meta. So that was it. That's what he's doing. And he's out there on the poach offering literally hundreds of millions in cash and stock to poach people from OpenAI. And I think what this symbolizes is just the fact that the world has realized that there is a new frontier of superintelligence, and that's where pretty much all of the capital in VC, even in private equity from these big companies, a lot of that is getting deployed towards it. And now Zuck is making bold moves, which he's always done, whether or not they've been correct. You looked at his move into the metaverse. That was obviously a big distraction for the company. But maybe this bold bet is going to pay off, and he's proven that he doesn't want to get left behind. He doesn't want Facebook or Meta to become an outdated company, and he's making bold moves. So look, it's pretty crazy to see it, and I will be interested to see what the OpenAI response is, having all of their best researchers poached alongside, Alexander Wang wasn't from OpenAI, but a bunch of his team now at Meta are. It'll be interesting to see their response.
Well, their response at the moment, I believe, from a leaked Slack message is, we understand that all our top talent's being taken. Don't worry, we're working on it. Also, the feedback is you're all working too hard and you're not on 100 million. So take a week off. There is a rumor that they're giving their staff some downtime in reflection of, we've had some feedback. Why don't they just give their staff $100 million? Like,
They've got the money.
They've got the money. They could go, well, they've already, they've got hundreds of billions or whatever invested in them. They could just go and say, we're going to do another round just to give our talent to give our talent some out. So what seems new in this AI, race is that, founders like, yourself and myself, there was this thing of like, you don't even pay yourself for a while, and you sort of, you just schlep it for years, and then one day you'll have an exit, or one day you'll be rewarded. Now it's like, in this race, it's put it all on its head, and it's like, I want that 100 milli if you want me right away. Like, that's what's sort of brand new about this, is that, and I suppose the other thing is, these people are going to be so careful when they recruit now, because basically once you get a job somewhere, you're now worth X. So once you're at OpenAI and you get invited into their IP and their domain expertise, you're now worth 5-10 times. So they have to really tie their staff in to whatever deals they're doing because they're just going to get poached. And I don't think I've ever seen anything like this in terms of human talent. And my other take on it is that everyone's talking all the jobs that are going and all of the, people that are going to lose out from AI. But if you leverage it, you're not losing your job. Your personal worth can go, there's no ceiling anymore on personal worth of staff. So we preach it every week, but if you're on the right side of this and you don't have to, I mean, these guys are probably software engineers who just have gone deep on research or, building models or whatever. There's no secret sauce here. They're just people that have decided to be on the right side of AI and suddenly they're getting poached for $100 million.
Yeah. And you raise a good point around once you are under the covers of one of these big companies, that's maybe what Zuck is buying. He just wants to get people who are senior, who know a lot about OpenAI, know all the secrets, know how they operated. A lot of it's probably just that he's purchasing. He's not actually just purchasing someone who's super intelligent. They're obviously smart because they were in that role in the first place. But a lot of it is probably just the IP.
Yeah, and God, he's funny. I mean, Facebook was just it was MySpace for Harvard, right? And then he killed MySpace with Facebook by just copying someone else and doing it better. And then he saw Instagram was going to be better than Facebook. So he's like, I'll just buy it, bought it, genius. Then he saw WhatsApp was 10 times better than Facebook Messenger. So he just bought it, genius. Failed potentially on the VR stuff, the metaverse, but he's still got the tech if he needs it. And it maybe just needs some AI to make it true. So he might have been ahead of his time. But what he did was he went on the frontier for the first time and failed because he wasn't copying someone, right? But he still acquired for that frontier. And then, decided to go open source Llama. And he was making some news a year ago about being open source. And you're like, oh, that's really cool. And it'll be interesting now if he gets all the talent and then he actually is on the frontier, whether everything's still open source or not. Because when you're losing, open source is the way because you're trying to take away the leader's advantage. But when you start winning, like ChatGPT, you close source everything because you're winning. So it'd be interesting to see if his ASI team that he's just paid billions for, whether they open source everything. My gut feel is whatever Alexander Wang does won't be open source. That's my bet.
And then in a year's time, OpenAI buys him back for $1 billion a year.
Yeah, exactly. Which is that meme, which is, Dad never did anything. He just kept getting poached.
Just kept getting traded.
Mate, some other news we've mentioned before, a bit niche, but Nikita Beer has had some good products, but he's a big poster on X and has a big media following of founders, I suppose. And I think he charged himself out for, he did the $10,000 an hour. That was the OnlyFans post where we said, is there founders OnlyFans? And he was charging himself out for $10,000 an hour for a booking on Zoom. He's posted his way into being the head of product at X. And I just think that's amazing in terms of this new world of media. You've got people like, your Tucker Carlson's and stuff leaving Fox News, starting their own show and all that kind of stuff. But then almost back full circle is you post on X so much and build a large following that Elon just acquires you and brings you in. Says, you do it so well, come run the team.
It's just so typical of this idea of personal brand and being out there and the distribution of content and being able to get in front of millions of people with these platforms that we all use. And what I find really funny is around the posting. Elon's such a quirky character that he would have seen the posting and the founder OnlyFans and would have been like, that's hilarious. Let's just make this guy head of product.
Yeah, exactly. That's
the kind of decisions he makes. Yeah. We talked about it with Clueless as well. This company that is being very on the edge with their marketing, but everyone's talking about them. It's, where is the line now between doing things that are so ridiculous that you're not taken seriously versus doing things that are just pushing the edge and are getting people's eyeballs. It's always been a thing in advertising and marketing about where is the line, like how edgy can we be with something to attract eyeballs without, saying the wrong thing that you're going to get cancelled for. But getting cancelled is not really a thing anymore. So it's that line is just getting pushed further and further out.
Yeah. I think the Clueless guys, it's just a modern take on product and distribution. Is for them, being a frontier with like their AI product, and then being viral is just distribution, right? So Apple did it with like multi-million-dollar campaigns, beautifully designed campaigns. That was how you got distributed through the old type of media. Like, look how beautiful this is. It could be on it could be on the news. It could be in the papers. You could watch the videos on YouTube. And then the new distribution and virality is through X and through YouTube and TikTok. And so I think the idea of Clearly is right. Have a really cool, intelligent frontier product and then solve for distribution by virality. So, and that's sort of the key to be a same thing. Like, he's viral. He's got a product. Now he's had a product at X. So it does make you think internally, like, what are we doing in that space? Because like you said, going to a physical show and presenting your product is still required, but wouldn't it be good if you just said something on this pod and BuildPass got an extra 1,000 users? How much better is that? So probably doesn't come as natural to you and I as him, but it does make you think about distribution of your own product or your own personal brand and what that really means. But it has to, I feel like it's genuine. I feel like these guys are getting rewarded for who they are genuinely, so it doesn't seem fake to this point, but it's very much a watch this space. Speaking of XAI, what's happened out there lately? They've done another round,
and not a small one. So there is a lot of people still banking on Elon. I think the fact that he's removed himself from the government is already showing. Just stepped down from Doge a few weeks later, 10 billion into XAI. And so he's raised 10 into his XAI company that makes grok. They've done it as half equity, half debt. That's a lot of debt, 5 of each. And it's basically on the same thread we were talking about with Zuck. It's who is going to build this new company that dominates superintelligence. And we've talked about the benefits that XAI has compared to other teams. And I think at a high level, that's all the other companies and the vertical integration. So all the data that they can get from the companies like X, like Tesla, just through Elon's network. But then also just the skill set that he brings with himself, but also through all of his teams, through so many different industries. This intersection between hardware and software and manufacturing and robotics and AI, you can't bet against him. And there's so much money flowing into just the Elon machine at the moment. And that's what we've seen with the 10 billion. So as far as what it's actually going to be used for, that's not super clear. Are they building another product? Is it more data centers? Is it their own chips? Are they trying to compete with NVIDIA? Like, who actually knows? I think the mission that Musk has hinted at is to develop truth-seeking AI. Like, we've talked about it before. He is a first principles guy. The only barrier to anything in this world is the laws of physics. And he very much is just seeking the truth. Hence why X is now a platform where you can say what you want. So very interesting to see the amount of money going in. And it just really heats up this race that we were talking about before in our mission to achieve superintelligence.
Yeah, I think the bit that was the most interesting for me was who invested. So we have A16Z, who we've spoken about before, like Andreessen Horowitz, which is major players now in venture capital and later stage capital as well. Sequoia, Fidelity, BlackRock, who's probably the biggest investor in the world, NVIDIA, and NVIDIA and AMD investing, I think is really interesting because in theory, if X is going to make its own chips, it's like they're almost hedging their bets. So it's one of two things. He's either going to use NVIDIA and AMD compute, and then they've reinvested in him, and that's part of the deal, or they're hedging against him making something and them still getting a slice of it. So very interesting there. And the Saudis, because why not? So it's a really interesting mix, and I'm tipping he picks his partners on purpose because you could probably get capital from anyone he wants. There was a post when he, I don't know if you've seen it, the text message exchange between him and, is it Larry Ellison, the head of Oracle, where he's like, "Hi mate, do you want to get in on this Twitter acquisition?" He's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "What are you in for?" And he goes, "I know, $1 billion." He goes, "Make it 2. I think 2 is a good idea." And he goes, "Okay." And then like that was $2 billion raised by 3 text messages, probably at 1 a.m. But I think capital partners and shareholders on purpose because he knows that he can't have someone like, start a coup against him. Because I think at PayPal, I think he got like ousted as CEO or something. So he's had a coup before. So I think he sort of picks his partners pretty well, picks his investors to know that he's got complete control. But he wants those billions. So yeah, keep an eye on them. I think he also understands that he just needs energy and compute, and the rest can be done with engineers and data. So I think all that money is going to go to energy and compute, and he probably will end up spending half of it with Tesla on battery storage and energy generation. So
keep it in the family.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of, people sometimes get sick of the Elon stuff, but my most inspiring thing for a while now that I've watched, and my advice to anyone is watch the Neuralink recent presentation they did to their team. Interestingly, they're not raising money at the moment, Neuralink. And what Neuralink is it's a brain computer interface chip that allows for things like telepathy and allows people who can't speak to communicate. It allows people, their next product is vision. So people who can't see are going to be able to see, like they're literally curing blindness. And it's basically, a bunch of sensors getting connected into the brain that allow for controlling of devices and the world around them, and basically unlocking senses or improving senses that the body has naturally. And I've probably butchered the description of that, but he basically talks about, at this Neuralink presentation, one of the coolest parts of it was he said that the average human, and we've spoken about bandwidth before, the human bandwidth, as what you can produce with your thumbs, texting, and the thing that's slowing you down is either what you can do with your voice or what you can do with your thumbs or what you can type. And he's basically saying the average human can only produce, their bandwidth is 1 kilobyte a second, which is something like 8 megabyte a day of throughput. And he's saying with Neuralink, they want to 100x that once you remove the bandwidth issue of your thumbs or whatever you'd have to do with the device. When you can just think it, your bandwidth increases by an order of magnitude, ongoing. So I think, I just think the whole thing was so inspiring, and it made me rethink about devices and Apple and just in general, like almost the death of the device.
Yeah.
And
he's
what do you think about that?
He's always so ahead. Elon has a quote around when you have requirements in a process, you should look at removing the requirements that exist. Keep removing them until you've removed too many, and then you add about 10% back.
Yeah.
And before you do things like optimizing, and so I think that the removing of requirements, you can kind of apply to this as well. It's like he's saying, why do we have to use our thumbs to communicate? Everyone's assuming that you have to do that. You need a keyboard on a laptop. And so other companies are starting to think about, okay, well, how do we use voice? And that's what Gemini and OpenAI have been doing. That's a little bit quicker. We can speak a little bit faster than we can type. So you might get like a 10 or 20% upgrade there. And then there might be some next tools that people are looking at, where you can just look at the screen. And he's saying, well, let's just go to the core. Let's get into the kernel of the problem, and let's just go straight to the brain. Like, that's the thing that's the workhorse. That's what's thinking it at the fastest pace. Why can't we just get the decision making from the computer as close as we can to the brain? And it's very sci-fi, but I mean, it makes sense, and they're doing it, and they're proving that it works. So just always a few steps ahead. And yeah, it's pretty, I didn't actually, I know you sent the update to me. I didn't end up watching it, which I plan to do. One side comment that I have on these things, we have talked about before, distribution and marketing and personal brand. I think it's really important for companies to be batching their updates like this into something that what I would call is a lightning strike. And it's like, Neuralink, we haven't heard of them for we haven't talked about them much on this show at all, right? Because they've just been away doing their thing, and then bang, lightning strike. Here's all the cool stuff we've been doing. We're curing all these diseases. We're on the frontier, and that's why everyone's talking about it now, and that's what gets the viewership. So, when it comes to marketing, I think there's like two forms. There's the always on. There's the things that you're always releasing out, and that's what we're trying to do with our shorts and things, or for the pod. But then I think it's important for companies to have these lightning strike moments where everyone talks about it. Like when Clueless releases their big video doing the stupid stuff that they do, or in Neuralink's case, it's just a video of Elon getting up there and talking about all of the cool stuff they're doing. So I think that's definitely the way of the future.
Yeah, and you can immediately see that the weakness here is, one, like the red tape of hooking things into people's brains, and two, the sensitivity around the privacy. Like, do you want something listening to all of your thoughts, right? Because thoughts are a bit of a safe space. So I like their plan to go after disability and disease first, because then that's all good, right? You're curing blindness, you're restoring speech. So they're all good news stories. And I imagine that the technology to him has always been, let's just remove the bandwidth issue. But then he would have had to sit down and go, oh, these are all the roadblocks I'm going to face, and this is my way around them. Let's cure blindness, add speech to people's lives. And that's the sort of way in. So very smart, because most people listening to this will be like, I don't want one. And, weirdos like you and I are probably like, I want one. But that's not like a product market that's big enough of like, 1 in every 1,000 people. So anyway, I think the strategy is good. Definitely worth a watch. And as we always say to people, if you can't be bothered watching, copy the YouTube link, put it in Notebook LM, and make it 10 minutes. And then if you want to customize your Notebook LM, put it in there and talk to it and remind it, how does this affect me? It's 5 years down the track, it's long-term thinking, but how does it affect me? So that felt right at the cutting edge. Next one we've got is Campfire. So what is Campfire, and why is it news?
I'll be brief on this one. Campfire is an AI first accounting tool, essentially. So something to kill Xero, to kill NetSuite by Oracle. And why I wanted to talk about this, they've just done a $35 million raise. They're a very new company. They're out of Paris, I believe. And they've grown revenue 10x in the last 12 months. So absolutely on a rocket ship. And the reason I think this is massive news is because it kind of challenges a fundamental belief that I had, that I'm now rethinking, is that when you think about who's going to win in the software space, we've got some clear new tools out there. Anyone who is building super intelligence like the Groks and the OpenAIs of the world, that's obvious. But then we've got a few other categories of software that are out there. You've got your legacy platforms, I would call, like Salesforce and HubSpot, and in the space that I'm in, listen, like a Procore in construction. These big legacy platforms, and then you've got a lot of point solutions that are out there, apps that just do smaller things and who aren't as well funded. And then you've got all of your new AI companies that have been funded. And my opinion was that the new AI companies are going to kill all of the existing apps. So it's sort of like the point solutions are going to be dead because these new AI companies are going to do them a whole lot better. And also, if you only do one thing in software, you can now almost just vibe code that. And so that's where things are going. But I was sort of the fundamental belief that these big platforms are here to stay because they're so integrated into someone's business. They touch so many things. They're very complicated to build. And you would think that these companies are going to start building the AI into their platforms to make them smarter. So that was my belief. But you see something like this and you go, investors have just put $35 million into a company that's growing at a massive clip, and they're out there replacing a very fundamental ERP tool like Oracle's NetSuite. If that's already happening, are all of those platforms, are they on the way out? Like, is Salesforce going to die and be replaced by a startup that moves faster, that builds AI into the core, and as we can see, is getting super heavily funded by anyone? If you could prove that you had even a sliver of a chance of crushing Salesforce, think about the kind of investment that you would get. You could raise over $100 million at a seed round because people would go, well, I don't even know what the market cap of Salesforce is. We can look that up. I'm sure it's over 100 billion. So that was sort of my thinking here that spurred this on. And I guess a little bit of an existential moment for me were thinking about, what happens with these platforms, and, is there an opportunity for companies like a Build Pass to take on much larger players than we initially thought?
Okay, so here's my opinion. I think I said it last week. Capture and kill. That is what's I believe is going to happen. So Salesforce will buy whoever they think is going to take them on. And it's exactly the same as Alexander Wang getting purchased. Just buy and use, or kill it, right? Or just use it internally and add it to your product. Because there's so much capital there now that it'd be irresponsible to just lose your market share to a young startup. So I think that the big ERPs, if they can't do it internally, they'll see this and they'll go, let's go get them now, pay them overs, and it just halts the momentum. And then they're going to say, well, now you've got to improve our product. So to all those out there at Procore, I think a Build Pass big valuation acquisition. If they don't want Build Pass taking over, 100 mil, 9 figures. If you need me as an agent, I'll head into the offices there. But yeah, I think you're right. If these big companies, it's hard to deploy, brand new talent in an R&D space and actually make it work because they're public. They're not as mobile. So all they really have is an option to acquire. They've got the data, they've got the customers. So I think you're just going to see, and Alexander Wang, he was at Y Combinator, and that's what I was saying to you the other day. And the last step was, I think Y Combinator's play here is they just want to build hundreds of companies that get acquired, which is the ultimate VC space. Is you don't want to keep them for 100 years. You want to start them at zero, grab your 10% or whatever the deal is at Y Combinator, at YC.
Yeah, about 7.
Yeah, and then boost them up. Let them leverage your ecosystem, and then get someone to buy them out within 5 years. Like, that's perfect, in and out, and on a huge multiple. So that's where I think this is heading. And if it's not, then you're right. These people will take on the big software players, and they might win. So, yeah, that's my thought there. Now, mate, we spoke about AGI is old news, and ASI is all anyone's talking about. So I think there's no more for us to go over there. We've got a few other players that are talking up ASI, but we might just move on and just say, in general, keep an eye out for the term ASI, and remind our listeners that artificial superintelligence is when the model that you're dealing with is better than every human at everything. So that's the definition. Now over to my friends. My friends in China, Xiaomi. Interesting guy. This guy's meant to be the Elon of Asia. So the CEO there. So very viral, very entrepreneurial. They've got the car, home, and device ecosystem. So you go in, they want to be all over you. And there's no, as we said last week, there's no one in the West that's doing it yet. Like Apple don't have a car. And Apple don't have like a really good home ecosystem yet. So what these guys and the other Chinese company, I forget, but what they want to do is they want to be all over you, right? So they've just released their AI glasses. So great camera, built-in voice assistant, great battery life, look a bit less tacky than Zuck stuff. I don't know if we went over the Meta Oakleys last week, and I think the headline there is like tradies and speed dealers finally have AI. Like, so like when you see a speed dealer at a train station cutting deals with his Meta Oakleys, like he's ahead of the game. But I think the interesting thing was David Sachs says the race to create the ideal AI device is on, and 99% of Americans wouldn't know who a Xiaomi is, but someone like David Sachs bring it to their attention. But what it is I reckon clearly he's intelligent, is, like I said last week, China's going for it. They might not get the headlines in the US media and even the Western media, but they're going for it, and they've got the manufacturing prowess, and now I think they've got the AI prowess as well. And yeah, what are your thoughts there? That we can't forget what they're doing over there.
Oh yeah, we've talked about it in most episodes, I think, because we've both been there and we know the market well. They are not the kinds of people that are out there beating their chest saying how all the things they're doing. They're just going and doing stuff. So they are really I think ahead of the curve. And I think it's great that someone like David Sachs, who runs AI for America, is bringing it to the Americans' attention and saying, hey, this is real, this is happening. And it's almost inviting people to start, it's creating that competition to say, hey, we need to be doing this as well. And it will be interesting to see. America has typically done very well in the innovation space, and they've had very innovative companies. So maybe this is kind of what they need, just a bit of friendly competition, or friendly is one way to put it, but some competition to drive them along. And so I do think that this new idea of a new AI device is really interesting, and I think the watch this space is going to be from the OpenAI and the Johnny Ive partnership, what they come out with.
Yeah, obviously Elon's playing the longer game with Neuralink, but I think that's a bit untouchable for most people. So the next space is the AI device to replace the phone. Everyone's probably getting sick of walking around with the phone. So the wearable space is the next space. We are on a hard deadline today, so I want to sort of bring three things together here. 3 of the top 6 companies. So we've got Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. Now, Google, education, Microsoft getting into the medical space, and Amazon quietly just making we already know they're one of the most efficient companies in the world in terms of logistics and everything they do, and that's more of the robot space. But let's touch on Google first. So Google expands AI in the education space.
Yeah. So what I find really interesting is we have talked about the fact that AI allows you to attack verticals more closely. So whether it's education, whether it's construction, whether it's healthcare, and there's a lot of startups in that space, but the big players are now moving into it, and it's getting very competitive. So something like a notebook LM that we always talk about is now getting offered into classrooms for free. They're integrating with all of the school software that is out there. So it's very clear that Google wants every kid that's going through school to be using Notebook LM as their way of studying, putting their sources into there, having a chat with it. And it makes so much sense. So I just find it really fascinating to see the companies moving into these spaces, especially the education space with someone like Google.
Yep. Microsoft enters the medical space, what they're calling medical superintelligence. So what they're suggesting is that their models are better than your general practitioner. So what Microsoft do really well is they enter enterprise. So like, for instance, I think all of the big four accounting firms around the world, Microsoft has actually implanted their engineers to like customize enterprise software with the big four accounting firms. So what Microsoft do really well is they find big commercial partners and build with them and treat them as a big customer. And they know, well, you've got 10, 15,000 staff, let's build a solution for you. So Microsoft look like they're looking at the medical space and going, how can we partner with doctors? Do you know what I mean? So they built a model specifically, and then with them, obviously Microsoft package up then the software, I suppose the user experience, the interface with it. So it's, what a big field to tackle. Instead of going, we're going to get rid of doctors, which they know they can't because of the red tape, how are we going to empower doctors?
Yeah. And the thing and you mentioned it briefly, is the bundling with the rest of the Microsoft experience. So take healthcare. There's a couple of companies that we have talked about. One is Heidi Health, one is Lyrebird. They both do AI note takers for doctors, and they're both growing like crazy. Blackbird said that Heidi Health is growing faster than Canva did at the same stage. So these are two companies that are doing really well. But if you're a big hospital and you're thinking about trusting all of your medical data because you want this AI note taker, in the future, are you going to go with the small startup that is built a tool to do this? Or if Microsoft comes into the space, copies that tool, puts it into the ecosystem that you're already using, which is your ERP and your teams, and now you get your medical note taker, you combine it with your LLM that does super intelligence. Who are you going to choose? You're going to choose Microsoft, and they'll probably offer it for free, like they did with Teams. Like we saw Slack's growth go up like crazy, and Zoom's growth go up like crazy. And then all of a sudden, Teams has way more users than both of them and got offered for free. So it's this, we are looking at the big base, and that concept of bundling is really powerful, and I mean, is also subject to competition law. And there's a lot of people that don't think it's fair, which is probably not, but that's what's going to happen in this space.
If you don't think it's fair, get acquired. That's knock on the door and say, I can take you to court, or you can buy me out at 100 times multiple. Look, well, let's no better time we'll get into Amazon, but we have to let everyone know that let's get into the robot rundown, the physical AI space where the rubber meets the road. And Amazon just quietly, am I reading this right? Amazon has deployed 1 million robots internally. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, they've hit 1 million robots. They've already had them, right? And this is why it's a reminder that even though you hear all about our man, Mr. Adcock with Figure AI and his humanoids, and Amazon is still out there, and you can order anything you like in any part of the world, basically, and get it delivered to your door the next day. Think about the infrastructure they have, the automation. So they're an absolute behemoth in this space. And then they've just announced, hey, we've deployed 1 million robots across the world. And also, we have now got a new foundational model called Deep Fleet AI that's going to be optimizing all of those existing robots. And we're going to be deploying that, and it's only going to get more efficient. So again, probably similar to what we were saying before with Neuralink, just quietly plugging away, and then bang, you hear this huge announcement. It's a reminder that Amazon is still here to play ball.
Hopefully Jeff and our man at Figure have a catch up after Jeff's big wedding in Italy, and Jeff's had a few Rapinos, and he just acquires Figure for 50 billion. They can have the little Figure robots running around in there, because I mean, what we keep talking about on this show is like, you've got to solve for distribution, and these monsters have already solved for distribution. They don't need virality. Jeff Bezos can never say anything again. He's already set up this machine that he's built that's just so efficient. He's got distribution. He's on everyone's phone. They already use him. So that the feedback loop at Amazon is getting tighter and tighter. Like the fact that they've deployed, 1 million robots internally. What a powerhouse. So makes me think it's time to double down on the Amazon investment. Continuing on the robot rundown, talk to us about Genesis AI.
Yeah, so Genesis AI is basically a startup that has raised a huge seed round of 100 million. And basically what they're saying is they're becoming the GPT for robotics. So when we talk about your figures who build humanoid robots, they have started to work on their own model as well. But a lot of these robotics companies are just using the base models. Google has got their robotics model that they're putting in. So Genesis AI is saying, hey, we are going to do the best foundational AI model to run robots on. And top investors have said, that sounds cool. If you can actually do it, that's a big market. Here's $100 million seed. So I believe this was led by Kozlar Ventures and Eclipse. I don't actually know about Eclipse. But I think, again, this is just showing that this space is going to be huge. People are betting big on it. And whether or not you can build a company that genuinely does have the foundational model and becomes the GPT of robotics, who knows? I think that's anyone's bet.
I read somewhere that they are planning to tackle my man NVIDIA. They think that they've got the edge on Jensen. So my advice to the good people at Genesis is don't say that out loud again. So you do not need Jensen Huang going, oh, right, okay, challenge. So, yeah, either, once again, knock on his door, ask to be bought, but don't walk out there. Anyone who says we're going to topple NVIDIA has failed. Like, you know, Intel.
Dead on arrival. Dead on arrival.
Intel was like superpower. And they're cooked. So, just Genesis, claim to be a lot of things. Don't claim to be an NVIDIA killer. Not my man. You don't need him after you.
You really touched a nerve on Scotty as well. Scotty will personally come after you.
Yeah, that's a lot. I feel like you just don't want Jensen's attention on your space. You want him not constant. Like the robotic space was basically dormant for 10 years. And then Jensen turned his attention to it. And now there's robotic players everywhere, you know, as NVIDIA rappers. So just maybe be an NVIDIA rapper. There's money in it. So anyway, they'll take the 100 million and have a crack. Next, mate, Australia, are we entering the space? Well, on a donkey, or are we?
I like the fact that we're trying. So I saw some news. We've announced our first, AI and robotics accelerator. It's come from a company called Propel Air. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there's a few cool companies that are coming out of Australia that are getting funded, as a few examples of what they do: underwater robots for ocean floor imaging, digital twin platforms for lunar mission training. We've got a company that does low-cost parcel sorting for regional logistics. So I think why I included this in our docket is it just shows that the hardware space is really heating up. Robots are heating up. And even backwards companies like us in Australia are starting to realize that as well. So hopefully this goes somewhere. Hopefully, I think really we need more, and without getting political, we need more government support here. It's not going to be individual companies that are in Australia that are going to really drive innovation in this space, but it's good to see some people at least trying.
I'm just coming to my ear now. I've got Jacinta Allen and Albo banned. These are banned. They have heard the word innovation. It's been trapped by my iPhone. It's gotten through to the government, and they've just banned it on arrival. They just squashed that innovation. Seems like someone was saying, well, so anyway, let's wish them all the best in Dubai, these companies, and in Austin, and continue their journey. Just change your address for the proprietary limited company. So all the best to them. No, but in all seriousness, we're going to celebrate any sort of innovation out of Australia, you and I, because we're passionate about long-term, having families, and we love this country, and we just would like to see it to be a bit more innovative. Okay, one from me, K-Bot. So earlier this year, you said robots will be in the home in 2025, and there's been a lot of announcements from the Figures and the Teslas and Hugging Face, and we just announced another 3 ourselves. But what I believe, Matt, is that K-Scale Labs have produced the K-Bot for $9,000 US, and there's 100 ready to take home now. You just have to go to San Fran and pick one up.
I'm booking my flight.
I mean, you've got to have.
I'm over
some
there in
sort
2
of-
weeks anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You have to at least put in a call or an email to say, are there any left? Or where have they gone? Have you sent one to Austin? 'Cause-
Yep. Or have they at least arrived in someone's home? Because if so, my bet has paid off well before the end of 2025. So yeah, we need to follow up on this one, but it's super exciting. We talked about Hugging Face last week, building robots for cheaper than the price of a MacBook. 9,000. If it's going to do all your chores in the home, that is an absolute steal. So I'm very excited by this, especially on the fact that my big bet early on in the year has potentially paid off early.
Well, also good to see another Aussie with a gambling addiction with your big bet. But am I just hearing that there's now betting on robots playing soccer?
So I saw the fact that now in China there is a new AI football league where robots will play soccer. Now, I haven't confirmed this, but I'm just assuming there is going to be a market to bet on this. You will be able to bet on robots playing soccer. It's obviously going to happen. So I don't want to spread fake news, but let's just say you can now bet on robots playing soccer. So create the market for it. To the people who work for Sportsbet out there, go and create us a market so we can add them into our multis.
If there isn't a market, the Aussies will find it. We are on the frontier of betting.
That is where we're innovative. And you know what? Albo will keep that one because he taxes the out of it.
Exactly. Elbo's like, oh, you can bet on. Oh, sorry, I thought you were building robots. No, you can definitely bet on them. You just can't build them or have them. So that is a good one. I also like the idea for those Australian people listening. At my Essendon team, the Bombers can't win anything, but potentially like a humanoid robot Bombers could be, on the cutting edge. If we just get some of Zuck's talent in the robotic space and build ourselves a football team out of robots, we could be winning there. But look, we're running short on time, so we're gonna end the robot rundown there. We could go through another 3 announcements, but I want to get into tool of the week because this week we have no parting wisdom. So, is the promise to next week offer double the wisdom? Right. So,
Yep.
So if you're
Double
going to have
wisdom next week.
if you're going to get a takeaway today, and it wasn't on any of the shit talking above, hopefully you've got some nuggets with tool of the week. So, take us through. What have you got?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be quick on this because, as I said, I've got a hard stop for a visa appointment to make sure I can get into the US. So there's a tool. I want everyone to search it. It's called Chef by Convex. It's a competitor to our tools like our Lovable, our Replit, and our Bolt, and it looks to be really good. I haven't used it, but the person who I trust most here is my business partner who freaking loves these types of apps, and he's already been vibe coding internal tools for us at BuildPass. If he says it's really good, it's really good. So that's my quick rundown on the tool of the week and my tip there. Go search it up. It's Chef by Convex, and use that. Maybe leave it in the comments if you've had some success with it. We'd love to hear. What I'm going to leave for next week, Scotty, is actually a pitch for an app, and I'll just drop in a little bit. This is the Tinder for podcast agendas. So maybe I can run you through it next week. If I get a chance, along with all my overcommitting, I might actually try build it before we arrive.
So the headline is Tinder for podcast agendas.
Yes.
It sounds self-serving. It might just be an internal.
There's a lot of podcasters now.
What is that term when you're in a meeting and they go, "Oh, we'll take that offline."
Yeah.
And it's like the most polite way of saying, "What the are you talking about?"
What the are you talking about?
You just stop derailing this meeting.
Very good. All right. Thanks, Scotty.
No worries, mate. Have a good one. Bye.
Yeah.